Hi, this is Mary Kay again from Backbone Valley Nursery in beautiful Marble Falls, Texas. Today we're here under the hot Texas sun. Going to be over 100 today. Not so many this year, but we're making it through it. We want to talk about what is drought resistance. The reason I want to talk about that today is because I find a lot of our customers have different ideas of what their expectations are when a plant is called drought resistant. Well, drought resistant refers to all the different adaptations that plants have that in response to stress. One of those adaptations is called drought escape. This can be illustrated by our wildflowers that bloom in the spring. You notice they don't bloom all summer. They bloom when there is the season with water, and then they're dormant the rest of the year. So that's called drought escape. Another one is called drought avoidance. With drought avoidance, it's a way that plants can experience drought for a short period of time, such as this coleus right here. It might wilt, but it's going, when it gets water finally, it's going to pop back up. Another example would be cacti and succulents, which have a waxy or thick epidermis that would keep moisture in. Another example would be prairie grasses that have deep root systems, deeper than our turf grasses. The third one is called drought tolerance. Now, drought tolerance is what most of our plants are going to be classified under. They'll tolerate short periods of drought. They may not look very good. An example of this would be the Texas red buckeye that we have around here. If you've ever had one or seen one growing along the sides of streams, you'll see that they drop their leaves in the middle of the summer. This is their mechanism, their defense mechanism to survive a drought. If you've ever seen lantana, I have the native Texas lantana, the orange one, growing in my yard. If we have a severe drought and mine aren't watered, their leaves will get crispy. This is a lantana. If it was to go with a long period of time under stress with no water, it would get crispy. Now, it may or may not survive. So with drought tolerance, this is what most of our plants fall under. You have to understand that they have adaptations to get them through short periods of drought and stress, but long periods of stress without water, you're really going to suffer the aesthetics of it. We have a lot of plants that are called water-wise. Well, what is water-wise? Water-wise is actually the practice of choosing plants that are adapted to drought conditions, grouping them together so that you can use less water. So it's actually more of a practice than it is a term or a label on a plant. We also hear about xeric, X-E-R-I-C, not zero, not Z-E-R-O. It comes from the Greek xeros, X-E-R-O-S, meaning dry. And these are plants that have evolved and grown and adapted in a naturally arid environment. These are ones like the yuccas and agaves around me here. These are truly xeric plants. They would actually suffer if they were in areas of high rainfall or soils that were not well drained, and you've probably experienced that as well. So what are our expectations? Well, first thing you have to do is you have to get the plant established, and it can vary as to how long it takes for different plants. For perennials, it varies by by how aggressive the root system is. It varies by the type of soil that you have. They need a well-drained soil. You don't want to plant anything in a heavy clay that doesn't drain. There's no pore space for oxygen. But planting in the time of year, planting a perennial in the summer, you're going to be watering it every day for the rest of the summer to get it established. On trees, because we do have trees that are said to be drought resistant, the Mexican white oak is a good example of that. The general rule of thumb is 1 year for every inch of caliper. Caliper is the diameter of the trunk. If you have a 3-inch caliper tree, it can take 3 years to fully establish that tree. So you first must get the plant established before you can even consider it to be drought tolerant. And even then, when you have a plant that's considered drought tolerant, Group them in the same irrigation zone together. That's going to cut down on your water bill. It's going to make it easier to water them because you'll be giving them the correct amount of water, not watering them with the St. Augustine. And you'll have a much prettier landscape that way. Just realize that when you plant a drought-resistant plant, any of these, which would be nice in a pot, I've had many people come in with dead plants and say, well, I put it in a pot and, you know, it said it was drought-resistant, why is it dead? Pots don't count. Pots do not allow the plants to grow the normal root system that you would have in the ground. So if you have a plant in a pot, just forget that word. Drought resistance doesn't apply to pots. You still have to water on a regular basis. Drought resistance does not apply to a newly planted plant. You must get the plant established, which could take months, 2 years. So keep that in mind and realize that not everything is going to look great if it doesn't get water. I've had buffalo grass before that looked great when the rains came and was bright green, then it turned brown in the summer. As soon as the rain came, it'd green up again. So you have to decide what is acceptable to you in terms of drought tolerance. Do you really want something that is very, very low water need, that you are going to have to sometimes irrigate even the yuccas and agaves that we have? If we were to have a drought year like we had in 2011, they would suffer, and you would not like the way they looked when they were suffering like that. So please keep the term drought tolerant, drought resistant, xeric in mind when you're choosing plants, and realize that it doesn't apply to pots, it doesn't apply to the plant until it's well established. Keep them healthy, keep them growing. See you next time.